Hello again, everybody. This is Joe. Welcome back to Data Science Building Blocks. As I mentioned in the comments section of the last video, today we are going to tackle if statements, so conditionals in Python, and also while loops. It should be a pretty quick and easy video. I also mentioned that I was going to try to issue 2 more videos before the end of the year, but have some holiday plans and a lot going on coming up, so probably going to be the last video here this year, and then we will go ahead and pick up again in the new year sometime after the holidays with more Python. But for this video, go ahead and hit your Windows key, or go to File Explorer in Mac, start typing in Jupyter Notebook. I'm going to go right back to the place where we left off. You can just click the Python DSBB or go to the Anaconda prompt, type in Jupyter Notebook with a space between the words and click enter. It will bring you to the same place. So wait for that to load up and then you'll land on this screen here. Also, a good time before I forget to mention, if you haven't checked out any of the other Python videos, we're sort of building on top of the last with every passing video here. So go back, subscribe if you'd like, check out the Python videos. There's also a lot of other basic data science stuff before that, so I encourage you to check it out. But for this, if you've been following along, click your desktop folder where we've been saving everything, or somewhere else if you have your DSBB folder somewhere else. So desktop DSBB for me, and the last one we worked on, you can sort by last modified. It's this DSBB Python 2. You'll see that the kernel is starting. Please wait, make sure it's your Python DSBB kernel. You could always change it by clicking kernel, change kernel, and then select one that you have. You should really only have 1 or 2 of them. We've only made 1 together. Once you have all that, you're good to go. Just click cell and run all. So we'll just run all, everything from last time. You won't hurt anything. It will overwrite what you wrote in the CSV file that we had saved off last time, but no big deal. It'll appear the same if you open it. We are not going to focus on that file at all today, just while loops and just conditionals. So sticking with this notebook, we're going to leverage this row content list that we've already created. So click your last cell, click the plus sign to create a new cell, and we'll do just 1 block of code with while loops and conditionals. So let's see how to do that. The example that I want to run through, let's just make a comment and I'll say it, we can all write it. Let's check to see if the numbers in our list are even or odd. So you only have 2 possibilities here. It's even or odd. So we're going to use an if-else statement. In Python, you could use elif. So if, elif, and then else if both of those top 2 fail. But we are just going to do an if-else because we'll check if it's even, and if it's not, then it's odd. So we can just say if even, okay, yes or no. If it's not, it'll do else, and then the other one, and that's all we have to do. We don't have to worry about an elif in this case. So let's go ahead and just set the very first number of the list. That's what we want to check. Like, how would we access the first number of this row content list? And we're going to use the row content because it's a list of integers rather than this row string content, which is strings, which we needed for the last video. So if we want to check the first number in the list, we can access it by doing index 0, and that will pull the very first number. So I did a control enter just to see this. If I want to do the last number in the list, you could do a -1 here, and that will give you the 9. So same thing, if you do a row content 1, it'll give you the 2, row content 2, it'll give you the 3. Python works from 0 upwards, so 0 is the first one, 1 is the second one. So it's giving you, if you do 2, it's giving you the 3rd position, which is 3 in your list up here. So we're going to leverage this, but in order to build, since we're doing a while loop, we're gonna look in this list while our numbers are less than 10, right? Because we know that it only goes up to 9, but we also want to make it dynamic. So we're gonna have to increase we're gonna have to look at the first position, second position, all the way up to the last position. So let's make it dynamic. Let's just do our first position is 0. So I'm just picking a letter here, I equals 0, or you can do like position, whatever you like. This is just the name of a variable. So I'll start with I equals 0, and then I'll start the while loop. So rather than do the for loop, like for number in range, we're going to do while row content 0, right? That would be our first number in the list. But we need to increase every time we go through this loop all the way up until the very last number. So we can do while row content 0 plus I is 0 in this case, so it's just going to give you 0, is less than the last number in the list. This is not going to be dynamic. We can just do row content minus 1. This will give us the last number in the list, so 9. So this will be while 0 is less than 9, and then the next time we're going to increase I to 1, so it'll be row content 1, which is the number 2 in the list, is less than 9, then it'll just go through all the way up until it gets to 9, and I did greater than by accident, so change that to less than, and then we'll do a colon here. So what are we going to do while the number is less than 9, the last number in our list? Well, we're going to first check to see if it's even, so let's do an if, and then same thing, so row content 0 plus 1 is the number we're accessing, 0 plus I, sorry. If row content, and then we use this modulo in Python, so it's a divisible by 2, so it's checking the remainder. So if you can divide something by 2, it's even, and you shouldn't have a remainder. So if the remainder is 0, then it's even. So in this case, we can just print it out. Let's do print. We'll actually print out what we're checking so that it's very clear to us. So we'll do 0 plus I again. Could probably give this an alias, but I want to write it out here so everyone can see and understand how we're pulling the same thing here as we are here. As we are here, we're just printing it out now. So row content 0 plus I, and we'll just write even, right? If you can divide it by 2, there's no remainder, it's even. And that's all we need to do there. I'm going to get rid of this row content 2 down here in case that's confusing anybody. I was just checking before I started writing this code. So again, we don't need to do an elif. You could see you could do an elif if you want, but then you have to rewrite this whole thing out again. What we really want to do is just say if that condition's not true, then just else. What do we want to do? So do else, hit enter, do another tab. Indentation is really important in Python, so all this is under the while loop. It's indented here on the same margin, and then everything we're doing under the if and else statements are also indented along the same margins. So in this case, we'll do print, and again, just row content 0 plus I, and then odd, because it's odd if it goes through this condition and it's not even. It will be odd. The only thing that we're missing here is we're not increasing I to 1. So if we just run this, it's gonna do 0 plus 0 every time, and it won't iterate through the list like we want it to. So at the very end of both the if and the else statement, we should do I equals I plus 1 and I equals I plus 1. Right, because if it's even, we're looking at the first position in the list. Now this condition's met, it's not even going to look at the else statement. So if we want to go back up to the while loop, this is dynamic. It needs to be 0 plus 1 now, so that we're looking at position 1 and then grabbing the next number, which is 2. So let's just run this whole thing now that we have it completely finished. Control enter. And looks like we have an invalid syntax because we forgot the colon after else. So just put a colon after else just like you did after the if statement, and then again control enter. And here we go, we've got a little list. This is our output. And one other thing we missed here, so I'll come back to it, but this is largely here the answer. If I is 0, it is doing while row content 0 plus 0, so row content 0, that's giving you position 1 in the list, which is the number 1. So while 1 is less than row content -1, which is the very last position in the list, which is always the same here in the while loop, that's 9. So while 1 is less than 9. Of course, 1 is less than 9, so we're going to proceed with this while loop. Then it's going to do if row content 0 plus 0 again, so position 1, the number 1, or position 0, the number 1, whatever you want to say. If 1 is divisible by 2 and there's no remainder, right? If you divide by 2 and there's no remainder, then it's even. Well, that's not true, so it's not going to run through this if statement. It's going to do the else. It's going to print it out. It's odd. Then we're going to increase I by 1, so now I isn't 0, it's 1, and run through the while loop again. So just to go through it one more time now, row content 0 plus 1 now is row content 1. That is now the second position in the list, and it will bring back the number 2 and run through this again. And 2 is less than 9. It will repeat until 9 is less than 9. That's not true, so it's not going to run. And that's exactly what we missed here. We don't have the number 9 even though it's in our list, so the way we fix that is just do a less than or equal to, right? And then it'll run up to 9. So control enter again, and here you go. You have the 9 is odd, and then you get a little error here just because of the way we wrote this. It's going to yell at you if you try to do a row content 0 plus 10, because it just doesn't exist, right? There's no 10th position in this list. So anyways, that's a lot to take in, but that is just one block of code, and we crammed both a while loop and a conditional statement in here. I encourage you to, if you're still not grasping it, to just kind of pause and rewind and do this again, and maybe write some others for yourself, but I'm sure we will hit on this more as we go forward. I hope this did help, and we will see you after the new year sometime. Take care.